Night Terror, an original story by Jackie R. Sisk II. Annalise sat smoking a cigarette. The cool, damp air had her wrapped in a blanket like a living burrito. The night was coming on, but she didn't think anything of it. Annalise had done this often enough. Sometimes she just needed to get away from everyone else in the house. Private time can be a blessing. The house was rural. There weren't even any neighbors for more than a mile. She loved the quiet of it, the sheer loveliness, and the absence of urban sounds. It gave her a calming that not many other things in the world could or would. She loved that setting, the tall oak trees swaying in the light breeze, the smell of earth and leaves and nature. Even the small, even the smell of the remaining coals in the fire pit, pungent and acrid. Putting out her cigarette, she sighed and decided to light another. It just wasn't time to go in and be around all those people. She loved her family desperately, but they could get on her last nerve. As the sun fell below the horizon, she saw something. It startled her, and then she felt panic. Slow panic began to rise inside her chest, almost like a living thing clawing at her heart. The feeling was small and subtle at first, but it began to grow, paralyzing her with every breath. Annalise looked up and noticed a disfigured face in the growing gloom. It looked melted and twisted and was watching her through the scraggly trees. It looked haunted, and it increased her anxiety to a fever pitch. She just sat, wrapped in her blanket, frozen with fear. The visage never moved, it never twitched, but she could feel the evil, the hunger, all around her. Sweat began to collect on her forehead in the cool night air, and though she wanted to scream her terror, her frozen body would not allow it. She sat like icy death. Barely able to breathe, frozen in fear, she considered going for her phone and calling someone inside the house to come out. But her fear-filled mind convinced her that the moment she moved, whatever it was would come for her. She stretched her legs out from under herself very slowly, so slowly that she barely moved, trying to get the blanket to unwrap and fall away. Her fear had her almost unable to even do that. Annalise knew that what she was seeing couldn't be possible. It had to be a trick of the failing light, an optical illusion that made the limbs of the trees form an image that terrified her. That had to be what she stared at. This logic didn't help her, however. The feeling of evil all around her, something dark and hungry. She could almost see the drool running down its chin. She knew only that she was food for something, something not quite right, something of the night, and that knowledge caused her to stop the movement, even as slight as it was, with her blanket. She glanced with the corner of her eye towards the door of the house. It was only 20 feet away. Annalise knew deep in her terror that she would never make it. Once she looked away, it would be over. It would be after her, and she would die as food for some dark, hungry thing. Just when she was about to get her fear under control, she heard something. It sounded like breathing, like the thing in front of her couldn't control itself much longer, its patience almost up. The clawing, gnawing terror grew more intense. She sat frozen and became afraid to even look toward the door out of the corner of her eye. The sound grew clearer, harsher. Annalise knew that it was getting ready to come for her. The small hairs on the back of her neck rose and stood out. A paralyzing fear ate at her heart now, having ripped it open inside of her. The cool air did nothing more to slow the sweat that beaded upon her forehead. She stared at the face, its yawning, hungry expression amplifying what she felt. She had to control herself, she knew, or everything was over. It's just a fucking shadow of the tree or something, she told herself. It can't be anything. There isn't anything really like that. Yet, even if the face weren't real, the terror was more than real. That terror became her only reality. She lived in it now, succumbing to the paralyzation of that fear. Her life was of one reality. She was a mother, a wife, a practical person. There were not things that fed upon people like this. That was fantasy. That was a horror movie. The fear, however, didn't know logic. It didn't care about reason. It froze her as if she were the statue. The wind blew, and this caused the face to appear to move slightly. But to her mind, it had been a trick or an illusion of her eyes. She told herself over and over that reinforcement of her practical nature began to work. She finally leaped to her feet. Unfortunately, she could hear something following behind her, almost like a large dog huffing hungrily in the night, its odor overwhelming her, the smell of hundreds of rotten dead things and of brimstone and fire of hell. She couldn't scream. She just ran until she felt the cold, hard hand grip her shoulder from behind, and it was like the chill of the grave. Hello, this is StoryMan-Jack. We hope you've enjoyed the telling of this story, Night Terror. Please comment, and if you found this entertaining in any way, let me know. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll bring you more original stories. Thank you.